Of Korean Studies at the Fletcher School at Tufts University. Seung-yoon, lots of great visuals coming out of this meetings. This meeting certainly looked great on paper, right? The first meeting at the DMZ between a sitting U.S. president and the leader of the DPRK, the first time a sitting U.S. president stepping onto the soil of the DPRK. But how significant, in your opinion, is this meeting really?
As President Trump himself intoned soon after setting foot on North Korean soil, great progress, big moment. That's what Trump said. I would tend to agree, but more for Kim Jong Un. Because Kim Jong Un now has bought himself more time and perhaps even a political cover under which he can continue to build his nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction. This month alone, a Swedish think tank published a report arguing that over the past year, North Korea has built at least 10 more bombs. So this process of open-ended negotiations, this trap, in my view, that President Trump fell into a year ago, has favored the North Korean leader, even as he bristles at economic sanctions against his regime.
You're saying this is a trap laid out by Kim Jong Un, the leader of the DPRK, and Trump unfortunately fell through or off this trap. But what are the incentives for President Donald Trump himself to give this last-minute invitation and did go to the DMZ to meet Kim Jong Un?
Well, I mean, it makes for gripping theater, political theater. The images are very rosy, and when there are handshakes and bonhomie, pattings on the back, and all those good feelings, of course, one tends to prefer such a mood-enhancing change of setting the tone, change in the tone, to bellicosity, mutual threats. And on a fundamental level, that, of course, makes sense. But history is rife with fake handshakes, peace treaties that have brought on greater disasters. And what we're talking about here is nuclear weapons. As we know, none of the other 8 nuclear weapons possessing states has ever dangled the possibility of denuclearization as a money-making scheme. North Korea has perfected this strategy. So on the thorny question of whether this really suggests a greater propensity on the part of the Kim regime to give up their nukes, I'm not sold on that.
So other than, in your words, buying time for developing its nuclear program, why else? What are the other factors that Kim Jong Un decided to accept this last-minute invitation from Trump on such short notice to meet him?
Well, I was a bit surprised he agreed, but I think he made the right call because whereas there has been some friction and even short-range missile tests since the Hanoi summit in February, Kim now comes across with his beaming smiles as a more responsible steward of his nuclear weapons, a reasonable guy with whom the U.S. can do business. So that's in his favor. And from this point on, I expect Kim will make more overtures. Trump extended to him an invitation to visit the White House. He may pick up on that or even say, let me send my sister first to the White House. At some point, he will call for a peace agreement as he has in the past. And these are steps along the path, North Korea's path toward really changing the balance of power in its favor vis-a-vis that rich Korean state across the border, South Korea.
Interesting observations and predictions. But regarding the denuclearization and sanctions relief, those are the things the DPRK and the U.S. are demanding of each other. What are the progress on those ends so far?
Well, in truth, sanctions, termination, suspension, are actually stipulated in U.S. law. That is, there are specific terms under which the U.S. president may suspend sanctions against North Korea and ultimately terminate sanctions. But in truth, it comes down to a political decision. So there may come a point when President Trump, as his predecessors have done in the past, unilaterally just decides to relax sanctions against North Korea, and that's clearly what North Korea seeks. And I think this kind of resetting the mood really favors North Korea's intentions.
Sung-Yoon Lee, professor of Korean Studies at the Fletcher School at Tufts University. Thanks so much.